for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bob, will you do the honors?
Yep. Bow our heads again. Father, we do thank you for this day you've given us. And we pray for those who are indisposed and ill. Give them guidance and give them strength. Be with those who still may be en route to our squadron meeting. And give this meeting guidance in regards to our mission. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Good evening, Squadron 5. Let's see. No guest. Oh, wait a minute. We do have a guest. How about that? Would you like to introduce yourself real quick? Noma? Norma. Nice to meet you. What? Just stopping by to see what we're all about. Well, you've come on a good night because I'm going to cover a lot of that tonight. So, excellent. Good to meet you, Norma. I'm the Squadron Commander, Chris Younger. Anyone in here can help you, but, obviously I will have a wealth of knowledge that it'll just go in the head and then it just fades away. It's just so much information, but don't worry. It's like we cover it so many times, so just feel free to ask. If something confuses you, just raise your hand. I'll get to you. But anyways, welcome, Norma. And welcome. Hi, Cam. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So we have a new communications unit leader, Chuck Dillon. Yay! After much consternation. So congratulations. Now we're getting a lot of mission capability, a lot of new pilot, new communication unit leader, new commander. No. Anyways. Reminder, so the promotion review board, still looking for one volunteer for the promotion volunteer board, review board. It's not a time sink or anything. It's just, we need to officially start, recognizing and making sure that we're tracking people that are ready for promotion. Again, we try to meet monthly. Awards review board. So I kind of voluntold Kathy because technically the personnel officer is supposed to be one of the people on that board. So there you go. It's now complete. So she has the most important job. She has the most important job, which is she gets to pay CAP members. What's our pay? Recognition. So there you go. Anywho. Let's see, vehicle status updates. Well, as some of you have heard, our new bird is grounded at IPL. Do you wanna, well, you know as much as I do, but you wanna speak to it?
Sure. Looks like there was an issue with 216 Charlie Papa on takeoff. It was perfectly fine. Run up, perfectly fine. But once they settled into cruise, it started losing RPM.
Oh.
So they returned to base, and there's and airplane is grounded, so it's still there.
Okay, we were just talking about your fun flight.
Okay, I can tell first hand.
Okay, perfect.
That would
I just
scary.
came back from
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah.
Especially that far from home.
And it's just been rebuilt. Let's see, 28 Foxtrot Alpha. You said it's reporting to California already, but it's not here. It's still in Arizona. So hopefully that plane will arrive soon. That's it's promising. They've already transferred it at least.
Yep.
It's the first step. We're still on the Tahoe. We have a key fob,
Oh, cool.
but it hasn't been programmed yet. So we need to get the
Baby
So-
steps.
yeah, well,
Yeah, we'll
next step.
figure that one out. 'Cause-
coaster emotions.
Yeah, because I still haven't been briefed on how the squadron pays for things. So
You and Ron are both.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that we missed? Vehicle updates?
That's all we have. That's all I have. Anybody else?
Anyone do donuts in the Tahoe? Okay. Upcoming CAP events, training opportunities. So as you all know, the Wing Conference is in like what, 2 days. San Jose. I don't know. Well, I don't know if there's still a space on the plane, but if you're, I don't even know if you can register. What's
Imperial?
Yeah, he's gonna drive it. He's gonna taxi it all the way to San Jose. That's what I thought. Right? I mean, it technically should work, right?
Fly is moaning.
Well,
So-
Andre, does he have any more
Yeah.
color to the
Well, I can talk about it now.
All right.
Catch your breath.
Yeah, I know.
Everything worked fine on our departure on Friday. There was no issues. We ran up during the flight, anything. The aircraft just received oil change before our flight, a little bit earlier, like 8 hours earlier. So we flew to Imperial and Eventful, no problem. Actually, that was a complicated flight. I had to fly to Fullerton, pick up Tom Barber, who is the mission director. Then we flew to Imperial. Took a break, flew 3 hours, came back, everything is normal. Next morning, Saturday, normal run up, normal everything. Flew 3 hours, came back, took a lunch break, and decided, well, we were deciding for like half an hour, we flying or not flying, because the winds were changing, and the runway, which is perpendicular to the main runway, is under maintenance, is being resurfaced. So if winds are direct crosswind, and at Imperial, it's not rare when it's pretty strong, like 15 plus knots, and we don't fly with crosswinds of 15 knots. So we were like thinking, decided to go. We were the first one to take off. Run up was fine. We took off, got on station, trimmed for level flight 90 knots, and shortly thereafter, I was on autopilot. I see the nose pitching up, airspeed is dropping, so I disconnected the autopilot, and I'm like looking what's wrong. The RPMs were dropping. I added power, RPMs recovered, and I see that the oil pressure dropped. It was maybe like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch below the green band. And green band starts at 50 psi. So it was probably around 36, 38 or so. So I'm like, okay, we are coming back. And I add power to cruise climb, 30 manifold pressure, 400 RPM. It climbs. Oil pressure came to the green band, just barely. All temperatures were fine. There was no problems noticed on any other temperature gauges. And we climbed to like 2500, and as we were climbing, we got closer to the airport, and we actually had to sleep to land because I was like gaining altitude while I can. I read so many and heard so many stories on partial power loss, like I'll climb until it does it. So we landed uneventfully, no problem. Shut it down.
Did it act weird when you went idle for landing?
The pressure dropped as soon as I reduced the power to normal cruise power for landing, and lower. The oil pressure was in a black zone. So you're not supposed to fly. If we start the airplane and the oil pressure didn't reach the green, shut down and stop. Okay. So if that happened on the ground, I would not fly, obviously. So we shut it down. First thought was, did we lose any oil? So we shut it down, let it cool a little bit. I talked to our maintenance director. I talked to Kevin. Checked oil. Oil was normal. We didn't lose any oil whatsoever. Wow. There was no smell of oil. Everything is normal.
On the belly?
Nothing on the belly. There is a little bit on the belly on the left side. I talked to Kevin. He said during the oil change they spilled some oil from the oil filter because the oil filter is mounted very inconveniently. You cannot put anything under it other than some rags. So we're like, so what do? Should we try to start it again, see what happens? So we started it on the ground at idle at 1000 RPM.
the oil pressure doesn't reach green zone. So the advice was give it a run up, see if it actually recovers. Maybe something temporary blocked, whatever. So I taxied out to position aircraft for the run up, and I was taxiing out at 1000 RPM, and RPMs dropped to 700. It felt like engine will quit. So I added power, and what I noticed as RPMs drop, the manifold pressure has risen, which seems like it's just a governor compensation for what's happening, right? So RPM dropping, manifold pressure is rising, it's reasonable, or vice versa. After that, it happens twice. First time I didn't record it, then second time we recorded it. Then I tried the run up, but during run up, the oil pressure goes to the green, and very bottom of the green, so we canceled, we stopped everything at that point, and grounded the airplane. So, continuation of the story, what do we do now? What are options? The mechanic says it is a possibility due to the cylinder break-in, maybe some debris, maybe from the previously faulty cylinders, got somewhere. And the first thing he suggested, there is an oil pressure relief valve, which he wanted to check and see if there is any junk in it. So today I flew Kevin to Imperial, spent nice like about 4 hours there and under the sun. He tried he cleaned it, didn't find any gunk or junk or whatever. Put it back together. We tried the run up. First we had some hope. If the oil pressure was barely in the green, but then it dropped. So he thought, okay, maybe he didn't tighten the relief valve enough. So we made 3 more adjustments past the original point where it was adjusted, and we got it somewhere in the middle where it was barely above the green, almost normal, I would say. And then we did the run-up sequence, and it started rapidly going down, like noticeably. You can see like 1 degree, one by one. So like, okay, that's it. He ran out of ideas. At this point, he needs time to think about it, and we'll consult with Lycoming and see what happens next. I don't know what options we have in the field. We'll see.
See, it sounds like it's the pressure relief valves costing. We've used valve grind compound to grind that valve down in the continental engine to hold pressure. They almost had one that's doing the same thing, but basically it came back up and stayed there. So a lot of times a piece of carbon gets in there, blocks it, holds it open, which allows that to go down and it doesn't flush itself out.
He completely disassembled the valve. He took the ball out, cleaned the ball, cleaned everything inside. He didn't see any debris. Poked his finger inside, didn't see any sharp pieces of metal or anything like that. Visually, we actually had to buy some instruments at Harbor Freight, and we checked it very carefully before putting it back together. So he doesn't have ideas at this point. Lycoming troubleshooting guide points at pressure relief valve and debris in the ball area, which prevents the ball from closing completely. That engine is now second trouble after the overhaul. Barely like less than 150 hours from overhaul.
Who overhauled it?
The same shop. CAP who uses only one shop.
America's Engines?
But Pop has nothing good to say about them.
They put in
Why?
crappy rebuild stuff.
Yeah.
They'll put in crappy rebuild stuff. I wouldn't trust them.
So
But
the
that's what you pay
current
for.
plan is, since we just changed the oil, he sent it for oil analysis, and we'll see what it comes back with. And if there is high metal of any kind, then we'll plan next steps, I guess. So we don't have an airplane for a while. But don't get discouraged. There are airplanes around us. Fullerton, John Wayne, Whiteman, Santa Monica, Torrance. Hopefully 172 will be here quick enough. So
Yeah.
Paul is the only 172 qualified pilot right now in the squadron. Congratulations. I didn't say in person to you yet. Good job, actually. So he actually uncovered very cool thing about onboarding. If you just got your private pilot, you're not even flying to get Form 5. You just get your DP, talk to the CEP, check pilot, and they shake hands, and you're good.
Yep.
Other than
Yeah.
Garmin 1000, qualification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you work with an instrument check ride too?
With instrument, it was abbreviated Form 5. It's not full check ride. So you should shoot 2 approaches and hold. That's it. All right.
All right.
Oh, back to you.
Well, 216 Charlie Papa, we hardly knew ye. No, but that's a really good story also to remember about aeronautical decision making, right? So most of us pilots, we fly planes, they don't typically break on us, but that's a pertinent thing to remember is when it starts acting funny, like you need to start your plan, which his plan was go home first, get high second, and which is, I mean, right, because we listen to the same podcast, and there's a lot of total power failures are pretty straightforward for us pilots. We know what we're doing at that point. Partial power losses are very deadly for us because we start playing the game of what we can and can't do, and we don't plan for it. So if he just heads back at normal altitude, 2,000 feet or whatever, well, he's not giving himself a chance. So great, that's why he's group commander, man, folks. It's guy knows what he's doing. And I lucked out. I think I read the tea leaves, and no, I got a little bit sick. I was supposed to be with him, and I got a little bit. I started getting a scratchy throat and congestion, so I didn't want to make him sick. So somehow, some way, I avoided the emergency. Poor Andre.
7% didn't even realize what happened. He just was safe back on the ground.
Oh, jeez. So, good times. I mean, it's, that's what the training is for. I mean, you're a new pilot. I mean, all of us who have flown, at one time or another, we've had something that, piques our interest, and immediately you start formulating the plan. So, excellent. Glad you didn't have another incident that was in another Turbo 216 that required an emergency return. Thankfully, that didn't happen to you.
The
Okay.
next thing that he needs to do is pull the oil filter and cut it open to see what they find.
Yeah, he cut it open. There was some metal, not a lot, which he said was expected during cylinder breaking.
And that's the other thing that I forgot to mention is MIFs, right? I mean, it could be a MIF, maintenance induced, right? But the other thing is this is a newly overhauled engine. Most of us airplane owners understand that, an engine that's working is a good engine. I don't care how old it is. An engine that's been rebuilt, we don't trust it, right? It could be a brand new off the line factory engine. We don't trust that engine, and we typically don't trust it for at least a couple hundred hours, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. But my engine on my aircraft is, 20 years old, and it works fine. I don't want it taken apart. I don't want them looking at it because it works. The minute they have to crack the case and do things, I have to treat that engine just like it's 216's engine, which is I don't trust it. I don't know what it's doing. So, all good lessons to learn. All right. Let's see. So we were on events. So Wing Conference, it's like coming up in a couple days. I guess you're driving, or are you flying the Mooney? Excellent. So, I'll take.
Well, since we would fly with so sort anyway, it's cheaper to fly the moon.
Exactly. So, I don't know if they're doing, aside from aerospace, I don't know if they're doing any virtual classes at Wing Conference. So, unfortunately, boo. The other thing is the Group 3, it's actually Group 3-7 SARX was rescheduled because of bad weather and whatnot last time. So it's now September 21st, 22nd up at Big Bear. They still haven't provided the link to sign up, but if you've got things to do. Did I say September? It's October, sorry. Yeah, it's a problem when you're doing things when you're on other conference calls. It's at Big Bear. If they're they haven't provided a link to sign up yet, but keep an eye out for it in your COG email.
So it's gonna be on a Monday and Tuesday.
See, now you're killing me. I'll look it up. I know it was rescheduled, and it's like another week or so. Maybe it might even be November. Check what's November 21st and 22nd.
Okay. That's a Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I'll double check those dates. It's a problem doing stuff while you're doing other things.
It's coming up in the future.
It's coming up in the future. You'll look in your email. How about date?
December 21st, 22nd is Saturday and Sunday. Right?
How about that? How about that? That works. The other thing is,
Chilly in Big Bear. Right?
yeah. Well, so they do winter like ground training, up at Big Bear. So just it's not out of the realm. PCR region conference. So this still fulfills the requirement of if you need to go to a conference as part of level 3. So if you are hanging around Portland in April, plan on going to the PCR region conference. I do believe the national commander will be there. So if you want to see the national commander, go there for that. Overrides, obviously, planes down, so none of that. Planes down, none of that. I added to the list of places and things you can do if you're looking to spread the word, the good word of CAP. So I kind of put the near schedule of most airports in the area. So Corona, Fullerton, Playbob, Chino, and K-Rowell. That's the dates that are the days that they happen out of the month. In case you ever want to stop by and kind of spread the word or look at planes. Either way. Chris, your turn. About planes and treats.
All right, just a briefer for everybody that's involved in Planes and Treats, and also a request if anybody else wants to join up and at the last minute. So Planes and Treats is this Saturday. We will be setting up at 2 p.m. over at the airport in front of the cafe. We have a booth that's right in front of the airport's terminal's main entrance. So we'll be right front and center for everybody to see us. Last year there were, I think, around 6,000, I think was the official estimate, people that came. That's a lot of eyeballs. So also a lot of chances to talk to people about Civil Air Patrol, not just our squadron, but also the cadet squadrons and composite squadrons for if they have kids that they want to get involved, because there will be a lot of children at this event. We have partnered up with the Flaybob Squadron this year, and their squadron commander and about 5 kids are going to be coming to. The cadets are going to be basically maintaining the flight line. Is the current plan. So they'll be out where the way the event works. If you haven't been to it, basically in front of the cafe there is, in front of the terminal building, there is a bunch of easy ups with vendors and food trucks and all that good stuff that you would get out of like a normal fair type of a atmosphere. And on the backside over here, if you're familiar with the airport taxiway, ramp area and parking area, there is basically a little horseshoe there that's designed where like larger aircraft can like come in and drop people off or pick people up. So like the like when Confederate, not Confederate, what are they called now? Commemorative Air Force, old name. Commemorative Air Force drops, does their tourist flight, their tour flights in their old bomber. They can park right there. Well, on Saturday, this is also important if you're going to be here at the airport. On Saturday, that whole section turns into a big U-shape, horseshoe shape of decorated airplanes. People basically giving out candy. It's like a trunk or treat, only it's I guess a proper treat. That's what the event looks like. And so basically, the line to get into that backside where all the planes are on display snakes down Gamendi Drive, up the airport drive, through the parking lot, and wraps around and all that. And people stand in line from 4 till 8 to get into that event. The terminus of that line, that's the right term, the front end of the line is right by where our booth is. So everybody that goes to that event will see our booth. So that's important. Now, for those of us that are going, the basics, I outlined it in an email, but just in case, just for visual aids, the primary vehicle will be getting this, and we'll be sticking this in the window of the main, whichever one of us has the car that's going to carry the most stuff, basically. Everybody else will need to have one of these parking passes. This will let us park on the west side of the parking lot, where all of the vendor parking is established for. I currently have 5 of them. Based on who's signed up so far, I think we should only need 2 additional. So one of us will have this, and then you guys will have one, and you'll have one. So, so if anybody else signs up, we still got some available. I have to also get some of these to the Flaybob Squadron so they can get. We've got an email chain back and forth trying to figure out the best way to do that, because I believe he's also going to the Wing Conference as well. So, anyway, so that is the brief on what these are. Any questions? Anybody else want to join it?
So, are we going to meet here early and get the tables and chairs out of the hangar, or what's the plan?
So that's a good question. I was thinking we should probably discuss that after the meeting tonight to figure out exactly what we want to do for a game plan. Figure out what size vehicles we have, because we have the Easy Up, we have the banner, we have a bunch of tools and stuff. I'm gonna get the STEM kits to put those on display as well at the table. So we just need to figure out exactly the best logistics on that. But that's definitely something for us to all gather around and see what we want to do. And like I said, if anybody else wants to join in, just let me know either now or at the end of the meeting. All right.
Thank you, Chris.
I have a comment. Speaking of logistics, I think we're going to need to create some kind of a schedule for the car. I've had requests from others to get the car. I don't want to end up in a situation where Chris is looking for the car and it's already checked out.
There's no scheduler for the vehicle.
I don't know at this point. I asked Aaron, and he said to let me know.
I asked that question too, and nobody seems
All we
to
have
know.
is a log of when it was used, but not a schedule. We need to make sure that we have.
Yeah, there's nothing online or anything.
Not like the airplanes.
Right.
Huh. Yeah.
One thing that I thought about is there is a calendar function in the Teams application that you can do. If you go under Files, there's a calendar there. But I don't know if that's ever been used for something like that, and I don't know if other people can view that as well. Just
they
a
can,
thought.
but we can.
But we
Well, yeah, and that's the other
And if
problem
somebody
is
is using it-
people from other squadrons can use the vehicle, so
Well, they need to go through us first.
they're supposed to. They're supposed to.
they have to go to the
But
back.
all of us who've driven a CAP vehicle know the code. So
That's the problem.
yeah, but like I've had to move Corona's van before, and it's just, but I know the code, so I was able to move it. But it's like, yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Well, if we want to avoid conflict, we're going to have to do something. Like that.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It's
I mean,
the same thing, not to get on a rant here, but the radios too. I asked, because we're trying to get handhelds for this event,
yeah.
and I asked Josh, where do I go, reserve it? He goes, you called the right guy. There's nowhere to,
Interesting.
yet somebody could go in the hangar, or not anymore, because they don't store them here, but someone could go into a hangar, take that kit, and we'd be out of luck for this weekend.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, that's something to think about.
Probably should complain to
maybe-
the group commander or something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, we could probably do
Not yet
something.
a group commander.
I know, couple of days. Couple of days.
Hold
But-
it until next meeting.
We'll probably, I mean, something like that SharePoint page, like for the maintenance, we could probably do something like that too. But
Yeah, or like I said, there is a calendar function in Teams, but I just don't know how, if it's accessible outside
yeah,
for other people or whatever. But
we'll take a look at that.
If it's accessible to our squadron, at least we can get it in there. If somebody sends us an email, we can log it in there and verify.
agreed. But we also then are going to need to make sure everybody who might borrow it knows, hey, if you need to borrow it, go put your name in
other squadron manage their vehicles? Does everybody just, is it a free-for-all?
No idea. Yeah, I think it's up to the squadron how they do it. I know that the old website had a vehicle reservation form, so I think that's how this squadron managed its vehicle back in the day. So the squadron website's one idea, SharePoint's another idea, Teams another idea. We'll have to kind of decide which one's the easiest to maintain by the transportation officers. Right? No, I mean I don't mind adding
That
the
is the reason
page,
I bring it
but
up.
yeah, I mean it's somebody's got to maintain it, right? So
But you can go into CAWG and just put in Squadron 5 and say, I'm gonna be using the vehicle on such and such a date, and everybody gets it.
well, that
Just
work.
like sending a message to everybody in the squadron.
Are you talking about through a cog email?
Well, like I said, I already got an email, got a document, but it's,
Okay.
in my eyes, the vehicle is reserved.
Okay.
For
We'll have to figure that out.
26.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll think about that. So,
Can you set up a SharePoint?
well, we'll figure out what's going to be the right medium. So, yeah, we'll figure that out. End of the month, it's a fifth Tuesday. So, Nighthawk in the hangar, October 29th at 6 o'clock in the hangar. I'll be cooking, so bring your appetite. November 9th, still the salute to veterans. Andre, where is that? Like, I don't even know where that is.
That's a flub up.
Okay. At least we've got that. Perfect. Woohoo. All right. General announcements. So, as said before, pilot onboarding return to flight is now funded and active in Wimmers, and there's your number for tracking if you want to fly under it. There has been a request for ICS 400 virtual course. So this only applies to people who have the ICS 300 complete. So far I think that's like, Chuck and I. But if you want to bang out your ICS 300, which I don't think is possible, but if you have your 300 and you're interested in getting the 400, let me know if you haven't seen the email, but there was an email that went out. Reminders kind of from up above. If you haven't set multi-factor authentication on your email, please do. The scammers are out and doing their things, and if you forget your password or anything like that, it's harder to recover if you don't set your MFA. The aerospace officers, remember your reports are due by the end of the month, so please get them in. Let's see. Debriefings. Did anybody go to the haunted airport? All right, that's a quick debrief. I think we kind of heard what happened at IPL, so that was fun. So yeah, good. 2 debriefings done very quickly. All right, so I gauge time here. Let
One
me.
question before you
Mm-hmm.
go to. We had talked about doing inventory. Have you decided a date to get that done?
No, we need to. It sounds like Tuesday before meeting is probably going to be the best day.
That's okay with me.
Okay. Because I mean that's the only day during the week really, aside from Friday for me.
How much do you think we're gonna need for that?
I don't know. I haven't done it yet. So, Andre.
The inventory down since airplane is obviously out of the question. We can consider it inventory, whatever is assigned to. Whatever is in the office, it usually doesn't take more than an hour. We can do it tonight.
Uh-oh. Challenge.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Well, we'll see how we feel after my presentation. I might put everybody to sleep. Everybody wants to get out of here. All right. So tonight is e-services, emergency services. Yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't say it.
Committee members? Just me?
Terry and myself.
Okay, just, okay.
Yeah.
Just because I needed to email
Oh.
out all of the deposits, and I need to know who the committee members are.
Yeah. Terry, yourself, me, and you're no longer assistant. So.
Oh.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Yay. Yay. And there was much rejoicing. Yay. Yeah. it a train whistle or a bus? I'm not sure which it was. Okay, so anything else? All right. So again, tonight is emergency services night. So we'll talk about the CAP mission, which I think is a good topic because I don't remember ever covering this before, because it does kind of come into play. Let me get this rolling here. I think it should be displaying up there. Good. And if I can hop over to, I love the driving part. Like, where's everything going? God, what a mess. Let's see. Hopefully that is now showing on Teams. Hopefully. All right. So the mission briefing, it's interesting. If you go to the national website, and you click on emergency services, which is one of the 3 pillars of our mission, I found a very interesting presentation there, and it seems like they update this every year. So let's talk about what is it we do here in CAP as pertaining to emergency services, because a lot of people just don't really know, and they don't know the full scope. I found a couple of neat things in here as I was going through. So obviously we've been performing missions for America since December 1st, 1941. I won't read everything straight off the list, but we actually did real missions in World War II. Coastal Patrol and Homeland Security. A lot of people don't know that we actually dropped bombs on submarines, but we did that. Pretty interesting little mission. Another fun fact of the Civil Air Patrol is if you notice that date, 1941, that predates the Air Force. We were part of the Army Air Corps originally, which is why if you look at our logos, the older logos specifically, they were the Army Air Corps logos that were kind of refactored for us. So technically CAP is actually older than the Air Force, and that's a whole other little haha. Incorporated, nonprofit, public law. There will be a test later, 476. And we became an auxiliary of the United States Air Force, Public Law 557 in 1948. So interesting little facts there about just how old CAP is. Still more missions. All right, so what do we do? Search and rescue operations in the emergency services. You see up in the upper left there, actually finding something. We do ground searches, we do air searches, right? Just a kind of an overview of what we do, right? We've been credited with 151 lives saved. So in fiscal year 22 and 60 previous year, and we've saved 27 lives so far this fiscal year, and I think that's probably, we'll see what the final total ends up being since the fiscal year just ended. Interesting stats to know about our SAR operations. We also do disaster relief. As a lot of you know, a couple of wonderful hurricanes went through the southeastern part of the United States. Those wings are currently doing missions right now, damage assessments and other geospatial things. But we do perform a large amount of missions, and so just to kind of a reminder of the things we do here at Civil Air Patrol. And like I said, Norma, you came on a good night because I'm actually doing this thing, which you get to see this is just one arm of what CAP actually does. And like I said, both in the air and on the ground. Some people get airsick, So we don't just support SAR and the disaster relief. We do a lot of different things, right? And some of these images, like I said, we are actually in the air spotting targets. So you can see things like look at the lower right there. I think that's popping up on the screen, is it? Nah, I probably can't. I can't move that window down there. Sorry, Cam. But anyways, but you can see from the air, spotting things from the air it's harder than it looks, and getting those nice shots. That's part of being an aerial photographer, which is a job that anyone can train to do. Don't have to be a pilot. We have a congressional charter. So, this is the charter that Civil Air Patrol operates under to do its job. All the SAR, disaster relief, Homeland Security. That's what Andre was doing this weekend. Drug interdiction, also part of what Andre is doing this weekend. And, AF ROTC flights, so the Air Force ROTC And the Air Force Junior ROTC, the high school kids that are doing ROTC programs, we fly them up for orientation flights, get them used to being in airplanes and flying around. We also have cadet programs, so this is one of the other arms of the Civil Air Patrol. This squadron is a senior squadron, so we do not have cadets, but other squadrons in the area are either composite or cadet squadrons, and we teach kids leadership, character development, aerospace education, physical fitness, so that they become dynamic citizens. That's the mission there. And aerospace education, which we do have a number of aerospace officers here. These are CAP members. These are also teachers and the general public. We are in charge of, or our charter is to educate people about aerospace in general. So that and STEM. So we have kids to blow things up. No, I mean launch things in the air. Come on, chuckle. But flight simulators and other things to kind of get people interested and aware of aerospace activities. So how do we operate? Well, we operate under Title 36 of the U.S. Code 40301, which makes us a federally chartered corporation, and Title 10 of the U.S. Code 9442 for volunteer civilian auxiliary of the Air Force. This allows us to operate as we do. Brief organizational chart of how things work for us and where we fit in. Everything there in blue is kind of, actual Air Force, right? And then you get to kind of the green areas, which is us, right? So this kind of shows you where we fit in. We are attached to the Air Force. We operate some of our missions under the flag of the Air Force. And in general, I mean, where do we fit in? Well, we fit in right there at the bottom. We are a squadron. We're bigger than a flight, so we belong to a group. So that's, if you were curious, where we are in that grand scale of things. Theoretically, the structure starts with the president. However, since CAP is temporarily, I don't know what that means, the Air Force Auxiliary, they can only be tasked with an Air Force component. Tasking authorities are the Air Force Component Commander and CAP USAF. That is a person who is our liaison. The tasking authority is defined in the AFI 102701, the organization and function of the Civil Air Patrol. If you ever can't fall asleep one night, just go look up wonderful forums on our national website, and you will be asleep in minutes. For example, during the Deepwater Horizon, the Gulf oil spill response, if anybody remembers that, the commander of U.S. NORTHCOM desired oversight and tasking authority for all participants, including CAP. So U.S. NORTHCOM is a joint command and cannot actually task CAP as the Air Force Auxiliary. So, there's a little bit of co-fluffery that happens in the background there. We're an all-volunteer organization with the exception of the national headquarters staff. So if you look at kind of that box in the middle, it's like, it's CAP NHQ staff. It's like a little gray box, like the national staff and the Chief Operating Officer. They are paid staff, and there are about 100 members. So, just so you know, so each CAP wing has a paid administrator, some part-time, while most are full-time. In total, there's approximately 150 full-time equivalent paid employees in the entire organization. Their purpose is to perform a lot of our administrative duties, and keep an otherwise volunteer organization operating, right? So this is customary for most volunteer organizations. Just so you know, there are actually paid people in CAP, it's just they're doing very specific jobs. CAP USF was technically realigned under the 1st Air Force and Air Combat Command, but that didn't really change the way this slide looks. So, yay, here you go. There's a, where do we fit into the large equation? Little statistics from FY 2024. You can see we've got, we're creeping up on 40,000 members, adult members, 30,000 cadets. So, 67,000 total members. We're a very large organization. We've got 1,400, units, right? We're a very large organization. And you can see the breakdown of aircraft and gliders. And we do, only 2 balloons. I was like, I gotta go get that balloon add-on, man. We gotta get one of those. And then, as you see down there at the bottom, a lot of communication. So we'll cover that in a second. But just to show you the span of what Civil Air Patrol does on the e-services side, the SUAS missions. It's like, what are they saying here? What is that? Nah, I don't even know what is that note? It doesn't make any sense. All right, where are we geographically? Well, there you go. It's a lot. We cover a large part of the United States. Again, we talked about how many units there are. One thing you might not notice or might not have known, so a composite squad, when there's both an active senior member program and an active cadet program, those are typically larger squadrons. They'll typically have a commander and then 2 deputy commanders, one in charge of each part of the organization. You have senior squadrons like ours. You've got cadet squadrons like Corona and Bob and things like that. If a squadron falls below, is it 15? We become a flight. So let's not do that. We got close. We were getting below the 20 levels in this squadron, and we were all kind of sweating it out. But Andre built us back up to the strength we are today. So let's not.
We did it together.
So we don't want to get down to flights, but there are flights. They do exist. Aircraft. Where are aircraft? See. Yeah, I know a lot. Where are the aircraft? But you see it a lot down here in Southern California. So, who knows when this picture was taken? But it just goes to show you we do have quite a lot of aircraft around, right?
Actually, Chuck has a web page which shows currently active aircraft by status, right?
Oh, yeah. It'd be interesting. I'll go look at it and see if it shows 216 Charlie Papa.
Exactly. Well, you see, there's like, what was it? There's one of the balloons, and then there's one of the other balloons. So there you go. All right, active powered aircraft. So what do we fly here? So you've got the 182s, as we know, the 172s that are elusive and mysterious. We're not really sure where they are.
The East Coast mostly has 172s, actually.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, lower density altitude. It's colder. We do have floats in Arizona. Check that out. We got some. What's that?
Alaska.
What did I say?
Arizona.
It's kind of weird.
George Strait song, Oceanfront Operations.
Alaska. Good Lord. We've got 206s like we do have. Well, that is sitting on the ground in Imperial, but we normally have in the squadron. There's some malls out there and the GA8, so the air vans, I think is what we call those. So, we try to maintain, obviously, be able to operate from a 2,500-foot runway. They need to carry both, AM and FM radio. Well, AM. We carry radios of different types, an airband radio and then a cap VHF radio. Depending on which plane you're flying, you can get up to 135 knots with the 206s, and generally about 700-mile range. But we're not going to typically fly them that far. The communication system. So Chuck's wheelhouse. The CAP's communication system provides mission-critical, secure, tactical command and control communications. It's the 3 C's. Between aircraft, ground teams, and incident command posts, performing search and rescue and disaster recovery operations in the field. So just kind of one of the missions we do is hybrid relay. So that is something you actively would be doing. So, that's where you sit in the plane. Pilot gets to fly in big racetracks and go to sleep, and you're doing a lot of work of taking notes and relaying messages back and forth. So that's a full mission here in CAP. More on communications. So we got all types of radios that have been walked out of our hangar. No, I don't even know where they are now. Cable or something like that. We have a ton of radios. They did? Ooh, do you know that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if they're staying.
Yeah.
They grow feet.
Group assets will be here.
That's his decision. So. Right. Excellent. One thing that I've never had the opportunity to see yet, but if you see in the upper kind of left-hand corner of that screen, we have tactical repeaters that actually plug into the aircraft. So they become a mobile repeater that people, ground teams will tune into, and we don't have to relay messages.
You
But
can minimize that icon.
I can't get over to it. Oh, there it goes. This is like driving, well, Oh, look at that! I can't get it. I know it's in front. Ah, yeah. Sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, it's like it's on a display I can't get to. I don't know what's going on with that. Anywho, communications infrastructure. So again, all the repeaters we have throughout the United States. I mean, it's a huge network, and it does work. I think have we been doing national tests?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know,
They do
more.
both HF and VHF, so it's basically shortwave and very, local repeaters, as he said. But every day there's a net on shortwave that you can get on at 7 in the morning or at noon.
Mm-hmm. And
p.m. too. That's the VHF. That's the local VHF net.
and now because of this large network we have, so incident command posts can now they don't have to be fixed anymore. They can be virtual, which was done I think during this 2017 hurricane season, but with greater connectivity to resources in the field. So we don't have to put everybody in one physical location anymore to actually run an IC. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Yeah. So as some of you know, we do have cameras on board the aircraft. So aerial photographers use cameras to take pictures. We do have Garmin Verbs. I've never actually seen them mounted on the planes and doing anything other than sitting in their containers, but we have them and they're ready to go, right? So, and there's also, we have a mission called DART. So that's another, again, for things for aerial photographers, this is all things you don't have to be a pilot to do in our aircraft, just so if you're wondering what we do up in the air there. We've got, we do have a number of the D100 Nikons that can provide geotagged imagery, but we don't really do it too much. I just mentioned DART. DART is a big program where we are part of a larger network of communications and photographic. I think also that imagery you were talking about, Chuck, the geospatial stuff, I think it's also in that. So, I mean, pretty neat stuff if you're a comm geek. If you're not a comm geek, it's like stuff that happens in the background that you're like, what is all that neat stuff going on? So, Waldos. We've all heard about Waldos, but what is a Waldo? There's a Waldo! It's strapped to the side of the airplane and does really cool, pictures. We do high resolution photographs of disaster sites and other fires and things like that. We do have some sensor aircraft with FLIRs. So interesting. I think they changed the flight performance of the aircraft a little bit, so they're a little bit interesting to fly. But we do have these. I don't know if we have any in Group 3.
No, I know one in Group 1 and the second one somewhere else.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. So, but they're out there, and hopefully the more missions we get to do, we'll hopefully get aircraft assigned to do them. Kind of interesting. UAS. So we do have a UAS mission pilot in the squadron, which is Chuck. So, these are very serious operations, which allow us to actually go in places and do it faster than we can with a lot of larger aircraft. So, and get very stable shots and be able to scan an area in detail. Whereas if we're flying over in a plane, it just that's a whole different skill. So, good stuff.
And they are acquiring a new drone style. It's called the X-10D, which is the big brother of that.
Of the X2D, yeah.
And it's very cool.
Cool. Again, hurricane assessment. So I'm sure this is what the squadrons are doing in Florida and North Carolina right now. So this is an example of our team from Missouri that was supporting a USAR task force while deployed to Florida. This was credited with a save. These photos collected during this mission of a large number of boats washed into a mangrove swamp directly resulted in the rescue of the individual trapped on one of those boats. So these photos were credited, taken by a CAP aircrew that actually found this person. So they were rescued alive, and they were given a save for that, which is one of our highest kind of awards that we give out. But also, it just goes to show you how difficult it is to kind of review this footage. So I mean, even on the big screen there, I mean, you can kind of see it, but what's the difference between that and any other, white splotch on the screen? Let's see, a few more slides left here. So, um, the AeroNet is this is kind of new to me, so I'm vamping. I'm looking for notes here. Um,
We actually tested that here locally. If you remember last year when they were looking for volunteers to act as victims.
oh yeah. This is that unit.
Well, AeroNet is the comm side of that, where they hook up different medical sensors to people that are being evac in CAP aircraft, but they're able to relay all of that data down to ground via comms and then out to a hospital ship.
Yeah, I think that's what they got. Well, unfortunately, it's behind the thing there.
Exactly. That is exactly right.
No, like I said, I just can't.
Some of us old guys believe
Exactly,
they know what it
yeah.
is.
Ooh.
We know.
Ah,
We know who you are.
yeah. See, it's just it's not letting me click it. I don't know what the deal is. Anyways, well, we'll figure it out.
But anyway, there's some very cool things that go along with that. There's a little note up there about TAC that they talk about,
Mm-hmm.
which gives even more. It allows leadership to see exactly where teams are, basically on a map, and they can transmit video between people and from drones, and it's very cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so it's like now I actually get to see what they look like, because what's hidden behind that on the lower left there is that tablet I think you were talking about. So yeah, it's pretty
That's
cool.
probably a TAC flip down on one of the crew members.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Let me get back to here. Come on, where am I going? Okay, there we go. We're back. All right, and then a little more of the logistical view of what AeroNet looks like. So airborne nodes, and I think this is what you were talking about. They were participating on, relaying information from ground to air to ground, and moving. I think what was it, imagery, like medical imagery, was being sent.
Yeah, it's all of the telemetry from all of the medical devices that were hooked up to these patients, pulse rate, O2 level, all of those.
Yeah, all that
things.
telemetry. Yeah,
Electrocardiograms, all kinds of stuff.
that's pretty cool. Oh man, yeah, AeroNet's pretty cool. All right. Mr. Qualified Personnel, so over 35,000. So that's what a little over half of our total, people are members involved in operations, right? And I'm not going to go through this whole list, but communications network operators include all the personnel in communications training. Most are entry level. Each CAP wing and region has a director of communications. There are at most almost 800 personnel that are qualified as CAP communication unit leaders, and we have one. There's also another 3,000 CAP mission radio operators, again meeting the CAP internal mission requirements, but have taken steps beyond the entry level, and most of those 300 mission operators are taking the steps to being CUL trainees as well. So a lot of people, I mean, half of the organization, training in some point to be ready for a mission. What kind of missions operationally? Well, our area of operations is border to border and coast to coast within the continental U.S., plus Alaska, or is it Arizona? Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. May only support federal agencies as its capacity in the Air Force Auxiliary, Air Force component commanders, task and approved CAP mission support. So we are authorized to work through them. We fly 60 to 80% of 1st Air Force AF North's daily sorties. In a typical year, we fly about 80,000 hours, right? And this is, people don't really think about it because you just see our squadron. So, it's like, what are we doing? But we're part of that whole, unit. And one thing they also talk about, we do have squadrons that are international that are part of other, units, but that's, I don't think we go into too much detail here. Posse Comitatus. So when we're doing things in conjunction with law enforcement, and especially when we have people that are members of law enforcement or the military that are also CAP members, they have to remember to kind of have a line of delineation between what job they're doing at any given time, which basically the Posse Comitatus specifically refers to you can't use the military to enforce on civilians. So if we're tasked by the Air Force, we're not doing enforcement, and we're not doing enforcement anyway because we're a civilian organization. But what that means is when the Air Force gives us a mission, we can't sit around and take pictures of U.S. citizens and generally survey on them. So that's what kind of that line of delineation is. And most of us who get our CD trained, we have to go through a kind of a yearly retraining on what that means and what our limitations are, and that type of thing. Almost done. We are very cost effective. If you look at this chart, you can see that to field us for an hour still costs less than a drone. So we win. Haha. So, well, if you think about it, though, I expected more than $813 an hour for a drone. These are the big Predator drones. So I was like, really? They're pretty cheap. They're gonna give us a run for our money soon. Anyways, that's data as effective as FY24. So, and these are all publicly accessible data. Defense support. So a little again a reminder of where we fit into who we report to and who we're responding to. So AF policy endorsed by the OSD allows them to request CAP for state and local agencies. So why? Because CAP employment does not impact AF combat capacity. So we don't detract from making our readiness less from the military, even though the military is tasked with doing lots of these types of same operations. So that's how we end up getting tasked. And again, just kind of showing where the relations lie. How do they request for us? Like legitimately, this is how a request comes in. So for those of us who do have, ops quals and are getting calls for things, there's a process that goes into how we get activated. So just a little view of what's going on behind the scenes while we get activated. The bottom line, yay! Everyone's waiting for this part. So we're willing and able to assist. The one thing to note is, I think on this slide, there's something called disaster mental health response teams. This is now what our crisis incident support management does. So if you see that language, or I think especially if you're looking at chaplain duty, I think you will be going through the CISM program. So just take in mind that disaster mental health is that program. So, and it's not a light program. I mean, it's a very serious program. When I first joined CAP like 20 years ago, when I was ground team, that was part of our briefing when we go into disaster sites. Is you will see things that are probably going to disturb you. So that's and the people in North Carolina are experiencing that. So pretty rough stuff. But that's what people like you are going to be there to help with. Is how do I cope with this? Anyways. CAP volunteers are trained professionals who will work to meet your requirements, right? Remember, this pitch was part of telling people what CAP does, so this is kind of the overall summary of it. I won't have to go through the whole thing, but we are an effective force multiplier for the Air Force, specifically. That's it. A little bit over. I tried to cram in there as much as I could, but it was interesting. I've never actually seen that slide deck before to explain the emergency services part of what we do here. I think it's pretty effective. Runs through a lot of information pretty quick. Questions, comments, boos, hisses, tomatoes? All right. Yes?
Can you send me that slide deck?
Sure thing. Or I can send you a link to make sure it stays up to date. Yeah, I'll do that. All right. Anything else? Going once, going twice. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
And that it does show up on that map. 216 shows it down at the right airport and that it's out of service.